What's up, movie freaks? Today we are going to be discussing The Witch. I have some guests here with me today. Nathaniel,
Hi, I'm Nathaniel from Film and Thespian.
Ian,
Hi, I'm Ian, also known as the Metal Gladiator.
and of course I will link their channels in the description as well as at the end screen, so be sure to follow both of them if you are not already. The Witch. This is,
Hold on, wait. I thought we were talking about the VVitch.
we are talking about
I
the
didn't watch the
VVitch.
VVitch.
The VVitch, okay?
What movie are we talking about here?
We're
I thought
talking
we were
about,
talking about the VVitch.
okay, so Ian, I don't know if you know this, but it's actually the same movie. But they used two V's to spell it because that's how they used to write it back then, because W was not in common use yet.
Oh,
That's how
see,
much
I was about to ask
attention to the
why.
historical that this movie has so much attention to the historical detail. And that's why they talk the way that they do in the film. It's very accurate to the time period, which is one of the things I love about the film.
Let's just go ahead and talk about dialogue. We just mentioned it. So we pretty much talked about it. But...
Yeah. Well, it's accurate to the time period.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very beautifully put together. Like, you can tell that they spent their time doing the research to get the dialogue to the point that it is, because it's just really well done.
Yeah, I love it. It's actually a lot of the dialogue and scenarios and stuff are actually from historical records, either journals or court hearings from the time. So a lot of it is actually like stuff that was really said or stuff that was actually going on. So obviously they put together their own story from that different stuff, but they pulled a lot of stuff from actual documents, which adds to the historical realism of it.
Yeah.
So I really love that about the film and really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Dialogue was top notch. Excellent.
Yeah.
One of the things that the movie does really well.
Yeah, for sure. And this is the first feature-length film of Robert Eggers.
Yes.
So it's very impressive for a first feature film.
Yes.
So
yeah,
can say that on my second viewing, watching it, I did see there were a few just little things. I was like, well, that could have been done a little bit better. Well, I think he achieved that better in The Lighthouse. Well, that type of stuff. But like first time viewing, I was like, wait, this is his first film? What?
yeah, this was also very low budget, $4 million, I believe.
Oh wow.
And I believe they filmed it in something like 25 days or something around that. So it was done really fast as well, which for me adds to how impressive this film is.
Yeah, especially when you take in the fact of what we just talked about, the dialogue. Like, you imagine what the actors just had to go through just with their dialogue, just talking.
Yeah.
For that short amount of time. Like, crazy.
I've done things like Shakespeare and stuff where the dialogue's just a little different than what you're used to.
Right.
And it actually does. It takes a little bit longer to memorize your lines that way because it's not how you normally talk. So you have to kind of like rework your brain to work in this different language in the way that it's changed. And I think all the actors did a really good job of, especially the younger actors. I am very impressed with the younger actors having to be able to change their dialect.
Yeah. Especially the Thomason and Caleb. Like the kids were good too. They weren't like terrible like you would expect them to be.
Right.
But like the two actors there that had a lot of talking parts but were also very young, it impressed me a lot. And I think this was actually what's her name? Anya Taylor-Joy's first like credited film appearance or something like that.
Yeah, or at least like one of her first.
And so she's like really fantastic.
Yeah, I've seen her in 2 other things since The Witch, and she's impressed me every single time.
Yeah, she was in Split.
Yeah.
And then I also saw her in The Thoroughbreds, I believe it was called.
I saw her in New Mutants.
Oh.
I saw her in. Her and James McAvoy were the best parts of Split. Not
Yeah.
saying it like it was an okay movie. It was
Right.
pretty good. The reason why it was so good was because you're used to
The acting.
really bad movies from M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah.
And then he comes out with a pretty decent movie with some great actors in it. And
Yeah.
then you're like, oh, well, dang, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then I don't want to get too much into New Mutants because you guys haven't seen that movie yet, right?
Correct.
Okay. Her and Maisie Williams from Game of Thrones, and I forget the actor's name, but he was in Stranger Things. Those 3 were the best actors in New Mutants.
Gotcha. Speaking of Game of Thrones, William and Catherine, the parents, Ralph Ineson and Kate Dickie, were both in Game of Thrones. Although they never shared a scene.
Yeah.
But they were both in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, she was a lot more recognizable.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
in like 1 or 2 episodes as like a side character, right?
Yeah, he was one of Theon's soldiers when Theon was like turning bad.
Yeah.
And turning on the Starks. He was one of the guys that was with Theon before the old Boltons put a stop to that. Won't get too much into that, but yeah. So, but yeah, all around the acting is really fantastic. Like you said, the dialogue makes that even more impressive. You kind of expect more from the older ones, but the kids wouldn't really expect much from them, especially trying to do old dialogue. And you got 25 days to film.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's really impressive. I love this movie a lot. At this point, I am basically watching it at least once a year. It's in a normal rotation for me.
Yeah.
Nice.
Definitely really good. And I'm not even a huge horror movie fan. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, this one is so. It's definitely not your typical horror movie.
No.
And I saw someone review maybe IMDb or Letterboxd or something. Someone had said something like, "This is a horror movie for cinephiles, not a horror film for horror fans."
Yeah.
So I think I think horror fans can appreciate it too, but I know the type of people that don't.
Yeah.
But it is a film that's just so well crafted that just general people who appreciate film can get a lot out of it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Because when you say like horror fans, I kind of see the people who have seen all 20 Friday the 13th, have seen all 20 Halloweens, are excited for the new ones, even though it's literally the same thing. It's
Right.
Just retarded.
And
Yeah.
that they're like really cheesy and kind of
Yeah.
the same, but they still really enjoy them. Just kind of like how some people like they're like the way I like Doctor Who. I know it's cheesy as hell.
Right.
I know it's just out there, and there's just a lot of things that you're like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
But I still find enjoyment in it, and I think that's what there's some horror fans that just kind of like that type of horror.
Yeah.
It's just really, really cheesy, but they love it.
Right. And I kind of fit into both camps. I'm a cinephile, but I can enjoy some cheese. Like I love horror movies, you know.
Trust me, we know the cheese you enjoy.
Yeah, yeah. Real quick, I'll just go ahead and issue a spoiler warning so that we can just talk about any aspect of the movie that we want and not have to worry about not spoiling. Cool. So, spoiler warning, we can talk about anything. I do want to bring up, because we were just talking about horror fans, and I don't want to lump this guy into horror fans, but I want to tell you guys about this guy that was talking about The Witch in FYE when I worked there. Because he was, you know,
here we go. Retail story.
Yeah.
Put up a title thing and be like Retail Stories with William. Wilkamz 93.
Right. He was talking about all these different horror movies, and me and my coworker were talking to him and making all these suggestions, and oh yeah, this movie was great, this one was a lot of fun, yada yada. Seemed pretty cool, right? Seemed like he liked a lot of horror movies, but then he starts talking about The Witch, and he's like, the movie was so dumb. So dumb. You know? Turns out it was the goat the whole time. And I was like, what?
Not really?
I couldn't understand how like simplified of an explanation he had put on that. Yeah. I was like, the goat, and this is why I issued the spoiler warning, because I'm talking about the end of it, right? But like, the goat at the end was Satan. You know, like that.
Yeah, Satan's not the witch.
It wasn't like it was the goat the whole time. There was a lot of, you know, witchcraft stuff going on, and then at the end, Satan shows up, and he was taking the form of Black Phillip. You know, like.
Yeah.
At that point, I was like, okay, I gotta like get away from, like, my coworker was talking to him too. I was like, I can't make fun of this guy in front of him right now.
It's crazy how I was gonna say it's kind of funny how you act when people say something stupid about movies, William. It's just like
I get real quiet.
Like, shut down and
I'm like, do I make fun of them? Are they gonna take that well? Do I insult their intelligence? No, I don't think I do. I think I'd be quiet. I think I just stay quiet.
Yeah, I'm the same way with music. So I was like, that's something you feel passionate about, something, and someone says something stupid about it, and you're just like,
yeah. So I think there is a certain group that that's kind of like that. That just, this movie would seem boring, would just seem dumb to them.
Yeah,
which is a like shame.
Yeah, it's just kind of like movies in general nowadays, because it's like it has to be spoon fed. Everything's just got to be spoon fed.
Yeah,
and that's one thing I loved about this movie, is it didn't spoon feed anything to it.
Yeah, and
it was the movie.
You pick up on things with every viewing.
Right. So. I was gonna say too, to add to that, the more that you know about the time period and witchcraft and the stuff that went on during that time period with witchcraft, the more stuff you notice in the film as well. One of those instances is the corn that they have has like a, I don't know if it's a fungi or whatever, the stuff that's on the corn because their corn was like rot and whatnot, but it had stuff on it
Yeah.
that actually causes that actually causes hallucinations. I cannot talk.
Hallucination.
Hallucinations. Okay. That actually cause hallucinations, and that's one of the like real things that like people nowadays contribute to certain things that led people to believe that so and so was a witch, or the film is done in such a way that it's like, okay, this real witchcraft stuff is happening. This is a real witch. This is happening. This is happening. But at the same time, it sprinkles things like that in that people contribute to. Oh, this is what made certain people think for real that this was happening in real life. So it kind of sprinkles that in of like, is it actually happening? Or are they hallucinating? Another thing was like when during Caleb's death, when the two youngest can't remember the prayer. That was something that if you became a witch, if you sold your soul to the devil, you couldn't remember the prayer anymore. You couldn't recite that prayer.
Yeah.
And which is why they react so violently to when the kids can't say that prayer. And they're like, say the prayer! Say the prayer! Come on! Like,
You have
yeah.
to know it.
Right.
It's
It's like,
it.
if you can't say it, that's a sign that you're a witch. And so, yeah, there's just so much like detail like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, some of this information is new to me right now, so I'm even appreciating it more. Which on my second watch for this video, I've already appreciated it so much more because one thing, I have glasses and I can clearly see the screen
Yeah.
and see what's going on. Whereas beforehand, I had trouble in the dark scenes seeing what the heck was going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's interesting. That actually reminds me of like one of a book I have that's unfortunately in a box right now because otherwise I would try to get it out and stuff. But it's about American mysteries, and one of them was the Salem witch trials. It's got like 4 pages about the Salem witch trials, and now I'm thinking about it from memory, I don't think it mentions anything about like the colon stuff, which is weird because.
Yeah. Let me.
Sorry, this is just something that came to my
you're good.
mind, but like, it's like people don't put research in. So when I'm thinking about all these witch trial stuff and all these wishes during the time period that this movie is based on, I appreciate the fact that the filmmakers actually put research into this and wasn't just like, oh, this is a mystery, so we're just going to present it as a mystery. Like all these other things, there's just like, mystery book, let's just present it as a mystery and not actually do any research.
Yeah.
That's always bothered me with that kind of stuff.
So yeah, the stuff on the corn, it's called ergot, ERGOT, and it's a hallucinogenic fungus. So yeah, so that was like a yeah. But yeah,
Makes
a
sense.
small detail that you don't know about unless you do that research, Or in my case, I love the movie so much, and I've seen it like 3 or 4 times, and then I'm looking into it even more, and then I learn about something like that, and that's how I didn't know about that beforehand. I haven't done a whole lot of research on witchcraft.
Yeah, or witchcraft.
Yeah, so another thing is this film was mostly shot, I don't think 100%, but mostly shot in natural light as well.
I was wondering that when I was watching it again. I was like, this lighting is really good. I wonder if they did natural light or...
Yeah, which makes the 25-day even more impressive. Because when you're working with natural light, you have a limited time frame of when you can film what you're doing. I believe they also used an older... I can't remember what the aspect ratio is, but it's like not as wide, but a little taller, and it's something that not a whole lot of films use, but used to use like pre-1950 a lot, I think. Something like that. So they used an older aspect ratio along with this natural light, and it just looks amazing.
You can tell that they like had a plan for everything, and that they knew exactly what they wanted and what they wanted to get, because in order to film with those stipulations and in that short amount of time, you have to have a plan. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you're not gonna get it done in that time frame.
Right. So.
Yeah, the natural light thing definitely shows, like the lighting.
Oh yeah.
I say lighting, but since it's mostly all natural, is incredible.
Yeah.
And another movie that the only other movie I can think of that actually does that is The Revenant.
Yeah. And it gives
So
it
it's
like a darker feel. Like even when it's during the day, it doesn't feel as bright.
Yeah,
It feels darker. And then the night scenes where it's literally only candles or fire that is lighting everything, like it just looks beautiful.
yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't remember seeing the sun once in this movie.
You didn't what once?
Ever seeing the sun?
Oh. Yeah.
I mean, not like they're filming the sun directly, but like I don't recall hardly any sunlight, like obvious sunlight.
Yeah, everything seemed like, oh, it was a cloudy day type of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Could you imagine that was their goal? Just imagine. They got 25 days to shoot this. They're mostly going to do everything natural light. And they're like, oh, we check the weather and stuff. It's going to be cloudy. That's going to be perfect. And they go there and it's just so freaking bright, sunny.
Well,
and then at night the moon is covered behind clouds. Could you imagine that? That would have sucked.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people run into when they try to film. I don't know necessarily natural light, but when they film outside. 1914. Since that was faked to look like one shot, they had to pay attention to the weather and make sure that it was a cloudy day, because otherwise you'd be able to tell
where the sun.
Yeah. With the clouds passing overhead and stuff. So
yeah.
They probably did the same thing. They probably were just like, well, we have to make sure that the clouds, it's a cloudy day to film.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
Yeah. And I think
1970. Did I say 1914? 1917.
Oh, 1917. Yeah, I think you did say 1914.
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah. I think I know it takes place in New England, but I think they filmed some of it up in Canada, which is where they filmed a lot of The Revenant as well. So they were probably on, honestly, just as much of a limited time frame that you can film. Because I know The Revenant, it was only like a few hours a day that they could actually film because they were doing all natural light.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's insane. It sounds like a major headache and very stressful.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I watched. I was watching the Sardonicast with YMS and IAG and Ralph the Movie Maker.
Yeah.
Talking about The Lighthouse, and someone had
Please don't spoil it.
I'm not talking about The Lighthouse. They were talking about someone had met Robert Eggers, or however you say his name, and asked him if he was still planning on doing time period dialogue stuff, because both of his movies have that. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I love that stuff. Absolutely, that's gonna happen." And I was like, "Yes, keep doing that."
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So does he only have the 2 movies right now?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think he did some short films I think if you look on his IMDb, I think he's got some short films credited before, but feature films, I think it's just the 2 right now. So, but they've both been excelente.
The Lighthouse is a little bit more artsy and a little bit more up to your interpretation than The Witch is.
Right.
But it's still.
Yeah, definitely gotta watch it.
Mwah.
And we can do a discussion video on that.
Mwah.
So, something I want to mention about this movie and something that is, I kind of feel overlooked within the horror genre. Not so much for people who, like ourselves, who really appreciate film and stuff, but I could simply just say cinematography and just leave it at that, but I've got to go into detail. So, yes, cinematography is important. You can have, like, obviously, camera shots and obviously styles of cinematography. But when it comes to the horror genre, I feel like it's a very hard thing to accomplish with these, because it's not necessarily, how I see it is it's not necessarily trying to be artsy. It's like the artsy part comes with the other part of, okay, if you're gonna have the camera stationary and have this like interesting shot or this not typical shot in horror movies, what is it gonna represent? Is it gonna represent eeriness? Is it gonna keep the audience on edge? What's gonna be shown in it that's gonna be related to the horror? Like, I always feel like a lot of horror movies don't accomplish this, but The Wish is definitely one of them that does accomplish it, because every time there is something that is very horror related going on and there is a very good shot along with it, that shot complements the camera work complements the feeling you should be feeling during this moment. An example is like near the beginning of the movie when she's playing peekaboo and then baby's gone and then the camera pans upward into the forest and then she runs in the shot. That's one of my favorite shots in the entire movie. It's not just a cool shot, it just represents the entire scene and what you should be feeling at that moment. So that's something the camera work complementing the scenes in horror, like the horror aspect, is something I kind of feel that's overlooked in the genre.
Yeah, but the cinematography is so important to horror, especially to modern day horror. But yeah, cinematography is so important to horror, especially like modern day horror, especially stuff that's trying to be scary or creepy. Like, if the cinematography isn't there, it doesn't work for me.
Yeah. Sometimes it comes across as funny just because it'll cut in a certain way, and it's like, what? Okay.
And as much as I hate like fake jump scares, if a jump scare is done with really good cinematography, I can get behind that. I can appreciate that. And what comes to mind right away is like the Conjuring and some of the other movies in the Conjuring universe that like James Wan has produced. But as far as the jump scare part being like okay, whereas most of the time jump scares are like
yeah.
Yeah, cinematography is important.
Yeah, and I just really like the cinematography of this film.
Speaking of The Conjuring, real quick, have you guys seen The Conjuring?
No.
I have not. We just ruined what you were about to say, didn't we?
That's actually a horror movie that I refuse to watch because it has to do with demons and
but it's so good though.
I'm
Ah,
sure the movie, from what I've heard from everybody, that movie is really well done in
yeah.
so many ways. It's just the plot of it. It's like, no, I don't want to watch that. That doesn't sound fun to me. That just sounds
Yeah.
scary.
It's as far as modern horror movie goes, I enjoy that one a lot. And it's James Wan. I love James Wan a lot as a director. But anyway, this is not like a big spoiler or anything, but the demon that's in that is named Bathsheba. And I just wanted to point out that the woman's name who played, like the actual actress who plays the witch in this, like the old woman witch, her name is Bathsheba. I was like, you got someone with the name Bathsheba to play a witch? I
Okay.
I'm down.
Coincidence? I think
That's
not.
exactly. I just when I saw that, like I think I saw her name in the credits or something, and I was like, cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's like he probably didn't even see her. He probably just saw her name and was like, yeah, you got the part. Your name is Bathsheba. You're hired.
You got the job.
Yeah.
And she makes a career out of playing witches.
And she actually hasn't even been in but a couple of movies, I don't think. But I just thought that was funny.
So, one part about this movie that I find, like, part that kind of, I guess you could say, just kind of like made me feel eerie a little bit. And this is kind of has to do with something another movie it reminded me of was the bunny rabbit in the movie.
Mm.
That thing popping up all the time.
Mm.
It reminded me of Lars von Trier's Antichrist.
Mm.
Because there was like animals and stuff in that. And some of the shots of the rabbit are very similar to the shots when those animals in Antichrist were
Right.
used. So I kind of like that. Kind of like, I don't know if it's like a direct homage or
It
reference thing, but it's
actually
like,
has to do with something else, and I'm trying to pull up some notes here.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't quite fully understand why. I think part of it was that every time it appeared, something bad happened, but I wasn't
Right.
sure, like the what exactly it was doing there and what exactly the point of it was. It felt intentional, so I wasn't gonna like. I mean, that's not anything that I would like take points off the movie for being bad. It was like, oh, that funny didn't make sense. I was like,
Right.
it makes sense probably. I just don't know what it is. I haven't picked up.
Hares, the rabbit. During that time, were often associated with witches. So milk hares would like steal or spoil milk from farm animals, and then it was also thought that witches could actually turn into hares themselves. So yeah, that's kind of the imagery intention, I think.
So it was probably taking the form of a witch to like spy on them or like something.
Right. It even says in here, witches were thought able to turn into a hare in order to spy on and influence people.
Yeah. See, because
So
every time the hare showed up, it was something bad would happen. Like the first time you see it, they pull out the gun and then it like backfires and hits him in the eye or whatever.
right.
And then the other time someone's getting like influenced or something bad's happening or like they're turning on each other or whatever. So I figured there was something there, but I wasn't entirely sure what it was. Now that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's another thing that's
you
based
had
on
Caleb
like what.
running after it.
Yeah. So it's another thing that's like a belief, a real belief in history that the film takes and turns into something. So
Yeah.
yeah, I just appreciate how much like historical stuff went into this to make it feel so authentic. Like it feels real, even though it's straight up taking, a witch story. Like you literally see the witch, bathing in baby's blood and then flying, but yet the movie still feels like it could happen.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
That scene always makes me so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Both times I watched it, just watching her like, I don't know, like pet the baby, and then you just see like mashing it and then just slathering it all on her
Yeah.
body, like
Yeah.
this why? What are you doing?
Yeah, and that's what they were said to do too, that they would take
Yeah.
blood mixed with some other things and they would rub it all over them and their broom, and that's how they made their flying potion or whatever, oil. So, but yeah, it's kind of crazy that a movie that has something like that, which is ridiculous, in it, can still feel like, well, crap, this could happen. Like when you're watching this, you're like, this is real. This could happen.
Yeah.
It draws you in, and it just feels so grounded in reality, even though it does stray from reality a bit.
Yeah.
And that's just
Yeah.
such a blend that's hard to hit sometimes. To stray from reality, but make you really believe that, yeah, this could happen. It just feels so grounded still.
Yeah. Probably the one part that kind of made me go, ooh, like super brief was probably the most, well, obviously the most realistic part of the movie, I think, was when the goat ran his horns into the dude's gut. Like I was like, ooh, because I know that could you could die from a goat like that. Horns like that, you could literally die, like in real life from that. Like that was a realistic death. That's definitely happened. So that was just just knowing that fact, I was like, ooh, ow.
I also like how they like slowly I guess it was probably the witch, but I say they because it feels like there are two villains I guess in the story. There's Satan, who the little kids talk about Black Phillip talking to them like right at the beginning of the movie. And then also right at the beginning of the movie you see the witch doing the baby thing. Slathering the baby's
bathing in an unbaptized baby's blood.
Yeah.
That's metal as crap. Holy.
So you feel like, it kind of feels like there are two. It kind of feels like they're kind of working together, and I think that's the whole point. Is because a lot of people will say that the witches are doing the devil's work and everything. But anyway, it feels like they're kind of like trying to turn the family against each other and then bring the oldest female into their like coven or whatever, because everything that happens just points at Thomasin. It's like, hey, she's a witch, look.
Yeah.
Because she had the baby, disappeared in her care. Caleb disappeared in her care. Then Caleb was found by Thomasin by herself, and then they start suspecting her and the two little ones. So they're like, "All right, we're gonna put you in this shed together. Whoever comes out is the witch." And then the other two die.
Yeah.
And they're like, "All right, it's you for sure, 100%."
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just good storytelling. Having set all these plans down to bring out something, and then I guess she eventually joins them at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. She's like, all right, well, my family's dead. They kept calling me a witch. Might as well be one.
Yeah. Well, the part where like Satan is asking her if to sign the book and whatnot. That's like the old story of to give your soul away to the devil, you had to sign his book, and that's actually what made someone a witch, or what they believed made them a witch, was signing their soul away to Satan. So that's what she does at the end there. She signs his book and goes and joins him.
Yep.
I heard too, I haven't looked too much into this, but you know how he asks her if she would like the taste of butter?
No.
He
don't
says,
recall that.
Wouldst thou like to live deliciously? Wouldst thou like the taste of butter? There at the end.
Okay.
Apparently during like the 15th and 16th century, the Catholic Church had declared that eating butter was like a bigger sin than like blasphemy and lying and all this crap. And I haven't looked too much into that, but that's what I've heard, and that's why I heard that's what that comes from. Like, or that's why they put that in there, because that was apparently a terrible sin at that point.
Because all butter is just milk and salt, and then you just like churn it for a little while, and then it becomes butter. So I guess it's just because there is the whole thing about there are certain types of animals you can eat and everything.
Right.
So maybe it's just that it's milk coming from an unholy animal or something.
Maybe.
When you were saying the stuff about the rabbit earlier, didn't you say something about how, like, it would what is it, like?
Influence?
No, what's the word I'm looking for?
Contaminate steal and spoil milk.
Yeah. I like when, as soon as you said that, I remember that scene when she was milking the goat and blood came out of it.
Yeah.
Oh, was the hair there when she did that? I can't remember.
I don't think so, but it was around. I'm pretty sure it was.
They were in there with Black Phillip, though.
Yeah.
And like
shot happened.
The kids were talking to Black Phillip at that point, and then they were like accusing her. They were like, "You're the witch. We know you're a witch. Mom and Dad are gonna find out." And then that happened, and then she's like freaking out.
Yeah.
And that was right before Caleb had his bit there.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to watch it again to just pick up on these things that we're talking about.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I didn't put this much research into doing this video. I feel like I'm unprepared. Why'd you even have me on here, William? William, you could have just done this video yourself. You didn't need to. What the heck, man? I'm leaving. I'm done.
So when I was looking up the butter thing, like the first article that comes up is how butter fueled the Protestant Reformation. It's talking about like Luther and stuff. So one of the quotes here is, "Eating butter, they say, is a greater sin than to lie, blaspheme, or indulge in impurity." So apparently the Catholic Church put some sort of butter ban back then.
Okay, then. It's actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I need to correct myself. It's not, butter isn't milk and salt, it's cream and salt. But
Oh,
obviously, you make
make
cream
cream
using
with milk. Yeah.
milk.
Yeah, hold on. Think about this. Blasphemy is considered the unforgivable sin. Eating
But
butter
eating
is
butter
worse
is
than blasphemy.
worse. Okay.
That's
If you eat butter, you're going to hell. There's no coming back from it. You're going to hell.
No, it's like as soon as you eat butter, you just drop dead and go to hell.
Yeah,
Right
you
there.
just
yeah.
This is worse than blasphemy.
your soul is unredeemable if you've eaten butter.
In that case, it's like.
Oh man,
Oh
the
my goodness, there
Catholic
might actually
Church.
be.
Am I right?
Yeah, if that's the case, there might actually be a zombie apocalypse. There's no more room in hell.
Yeah,
That
that's
might
true,
actually
that's true.
happen. So I guarantee you, every American, at
That's
least
what's wrong. That's
90%
what's wrong with
of
America right now.
Americans.
We're eating too much butter.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I guarantee you, at least like 90% of people, maybe 80% in the world has eaten or tasted butter. So
Yep. All going to
yeah,
hell. All going to hell. Every last one of them.
pretty metal,
Yep. The Catholic Church is the only one not going to hell.
obviously.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
blasphemy, the unforgivable sin. The Catholic Church was like, you know what's worse than the unforgivable sin? Eating butter. What movie are we talking about?
The
I forgot.
VVitch.
VVitch. Yeah, great movie.
Yeah.
There was just like a
Yeah.
specific moment that I was like, oh, that. I see what you were trying to do, but I feel like you did that a little bit better in The Lighthouse. But I can't remember what it was. So,
Mm. Dang.
I took a note of it, and I was like, I'm going to make sure I talk about that in the video. And then I forgot. I should have wrote it down.
Oh, you didn't write the note down? It was a mental note.
So you didn't make note of it.
I took
Something.
a mental note. I was like, oh, that thing. I want to talk about that. Oh, well.
Nathaniel, we know how your mental notes go.
Think really hard.
Yeah.
Think really hard. Rub your head. Think really hard.
It would be like that meme. Is like, what's his face from the X-Men cartoon?
Oh, Professor X.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like what similarity, like what was like very similar to The Lighthouse that you could be thinking about.
I don't think it was really like super similar. It was just kind of like, I think it was more just like, what do you call it?
The vibe that it gave.
I think it was more just like types of symbolism that I think that he figured that there was a symbol for something that I think came across better in The Lighthouse. But I can't think of any like specific what do you call them? I can't think of anything specific from the movie. All I can say is that I think that that I could see a progression in his work from The Witch to The Lighthouse.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't give any specific like examples. Unfortunately, I'd like to have those, but
yeah.
Because now I just kind of sound like I sound like I'm trying to sound like I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the soundtrack was very, very good.
The soundtrack so good.
Oh yeah.
I love it.
I can't remember. I think it's like a choir of women doing some like medieval style chant or something is what the like a lot of that music was or
Mhm.
something like that. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, it is very,
It's
very creepy sounding and really sets the mood.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think don't quote me on this, but I feel like that's gotten after The Witch, that's gotten a little bit more popular in horror movies because I feel like I've heard that more often
Hmm.
since The Witch.
Hmm.
I can't remember where,
Hmm.
but that and like that type of just like low droning sound that you
Yeah.
hear in like Joker.
Hmm.
That's gotten really popular now. I can't remember what movie started that. It was either The Joker or oh shoot, what was that movie? What was the other movie that had that type of music in it? I forget.
Hmm.
But there were like two like really popular movies. One was The Joker, and there was another one. Oh, it wasn't a movie. It was The Mandalorian.
Well.
It's not quite got the same like vibe
Hmm.
as, but it's got that kind of like low, droning sound in it, and then
Yeah.
that's just kind of like, kind of starting to like take its own type of genre.
Hmm.
And I just find it interesting when I can catch like how music is like slowly changing,
Yeah.
how films are slowly changing. I always find it interesting to see where things are like going in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely know what you're talking about. As soon as you said Mandalorian, I started thinking the soundtrack of that, and I was like, oh, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, soundtracks definitely important for horror movies as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like the one thing I definitely liked about this movie, which is just another thing that we can add to the list of huge appreciations for this movie, because we've been doing nothing but praise this movie the entire time, obviously.
Yeah.
But the soundtrack, it was good and it was well placed.
Mm.
It didn't rely on the soundtrack to create the vibes of
Right.
horror aspects to it.
Yeah.
Which
Like
that
the scene where she's like crushing up the baby with those other things. I don't think
Hmm.
there was any music there. I think you just kind of saw her like, she was naked, and you just kind of saw her like crunching
Hmm.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Her
I think the chant
crunching-
comes in a little after that or something.
Yeah,
Because the chant is like full fledged by the time she's flying.
right.
But yeah, it's perfectly done.
Yeah. And I like that the soundtrack, because you always notice with horror movies, the soundtrack gets really loud
Hmm.
when jump scares are happening, and literally in this movie they use that as the like scene transitions.
Right.
They just have scenery, and then it's really loud, and then it's to the next scene.
Yeah.
I
No
love
jump
that.
scares in this movie.
Yeah,
I
I
think there
love it.
was one.
Was
I
there?
think there was one. There was one when Caleb finds that younger woman in the woods. She's in that like red cloak,
Hmm.
and like comes in, and like I guess the whole movie you see,
Oh, with the hand
Caleb is kind of like noticing Thomason's like
cleavage.
puberty,
Yeah.
and so he kind of like, you see him like kind of like glancing or staring or something, and you kind of can tell that he's starting to go through puberty as well and starting to
Yeah.
notice those things. And then that woman comes in, and she's everything, and he's like, what's going on? And then she like comes in, and like it's really awkward. But then she like kisses him, and then you feel uneasy, one, because it's an adult woman kissing a young boy, which is weird, and then two,
Yeah, and
you
you know-
that it's the witch, and
Yeah.
then you see the older woman's hand come in
Hand.
and
Yeah, I forgot about that. I guess that would probably be a jump scare.
Yeah.
Um,
That was the, I think
not
that
a
was the
very
only
successful jump scare, but
No.
Yeah. I would say that it's a little bit more on the side of being a good one than anything, because for one, I didn't jump from the music being pushed to volume 300%, you know.
Yeah.
right. But the music did get louder there, and that's probably the. If I have one
Yeah.
complaint about the film, it's probably that little bit. Because it does almost feel like it was trying to be a jump scare. But I almost feel like it would have been just better just showing it like the way that it happened, but not trying to make it a jump scare.
Right.
Like, don't make the music go loud at that point. Just show the hand come up and then cut.
Yeah.
That's probably the one thing that I was like, because I really don't have many complaints about this movie at all, but that's probably the one that I do. I forgot about that until you mentioned it, but yeah.
I would say that's probably mine as well.
Yeah.
Well, I retract my statement of no jump scares then.
There's one.
Yeah.
One jump scare.
But
it's not a very
I just
good jump
realized
scare.
something else. Did we ever see? This is something that I've been thinking about because you said something about the corn. Did we ever see any of the family members eat the corn?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
They show it out when they're like harvesting it. They're talking about how it's rotted or whatever. And then you see some hanging in the house. So it's not like they've just thrown it all out. They've got some in the house, and you got to think too if they're as low on food as they are because their harvest isn't working. You know, they are selling silver cups to get traps so that they can try to get food. They probably would have tried to eat some of the corn, try to get some that's not rotted, but probably there's rot on it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's something that's not spoon-fed, but it's like,
yeah,
that's there.
But I'm just thinking about it, and then I'm also thinking about the one scene when the mother hallucinates Caleb and the baby. Kind of like almost putting those two together. Where it's like, yeah, you know.
Yeah, and I think.
And then the crow.
Doesn't she?
Like the crow doesn't. Crows have always been like whole related and stuff. Is there anything about wishes in crows?
I'm not 100%.
I
Probably,
almost feel
honestly.
like there is or something.
Because I don't remember if it's crows or ravens, but one of them is always associated with death.
Yeah.
Can't remember which one. I think it's raven.
I don't even know which one was, if it was a raven or if it was a crow in the movie.
Pretty sure it was raven. I think crows are smaller.
Yeah, it's cool how all these being told all this new information and stuff, and I'm putting stuff together now.
Yeah.
Without even like rewatching the film, because I watched it maybe like almost a week ago now, so it was pretty recently. So I'm just kind of like.
I watched it 5 or 6 days ago.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing anything right off, but it looks like there's probably some connection with ravens with witchcraft.
Yeah.
I think at that point doesn't I'm forgetting now. I have to go back and look at that scene specifically, but the scene where the raven's on her and whatnot, doesn't she sign his book as well at that point?
I don't remember.
I want to say that Catherine signs the Devil's Book at that point, and she's like, going crazy, losing it.
There's like the hallucination of Caleb or something. Like, we'll sign it or something. So I can't think of how that's in there. I don't know.
I can't remember exactly. I just watched it too long ago.
I want to say that I know what you're talking about because I'm almost picturing a book in that scene. It's just not coming to me.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately. That would make sense. That's how the devil does it. He gets two people to sign his book, and then he has them throw down with each other to make sure
Or
who's
maybe
more
it was something
worthy.
like Caleb was trying to get her to sign it, but the baby. But then she was like, "Nah, let me take the baby and feed the baby real quick first." Or something like that.
Oh, is that what it was?
Maybe. Because I do remember it. I feel like I remember one of them. He was trying to get her to do something or say something or do or something.
Yeah.
She wanted to take care of the baby first.
So yeah, that's also interesting because if it was Caleb actually trying to get her to sign the book, then you gotta think that wasn't a hallucination like I was implying just a few minutes ago.
Right. Well,
with the corn
and
stuff.
that's the thing. It could have been the devil getting this person to sign her soul away. Or she could have been hallucinating all of it, but people of that time period would have believed that, yeah, that was the devil. They got me to sign the book,
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
kind of like that's kind of this whole film. It's kind of
Yeah.
like, is it real or is it not? The whole film is honestly like that, and I love it.
Yeah, that's amazing if you really think about it, because that's not necessarily the whole "is this real or is it not" thing isn't an original thing in film or anything really.
And it can
But
get
the
really
way that it's presented in this
Yeah, it's
is
presented in a very
fantastic.
historical way, of like, because there was a lot of people, a lot of witch hunts that happened, and a lot of people were executed for being witches that weren't witches, but there are all these factors in that made people believe so and so's a witch, or So it's so it's so good. Were you about to say something else, Nathaniel? Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say pretty much what Ian was saying, that it's kind of been done. It's almost been done to the point where it feels like, and it was all a dream type thing.
Right.
But it's not really presented in a way that is like, is this real? I don't know. You figure it out. It's more presented like, this is real, and then the more research that you do, and then you kind of like discover stuff, you're like, oh, maybe it wasn't. Maybe
Right.
It was this information.
It's just like, oh, we just filmed a story. We just drop it, and then it's like a bunch of people just write it off as surface level, and then other people are noticing things that know about the time period or know about this, and then it's definitely deeper than it first appears, I think.
Yeah.
For sure. And I just have to say, I absolutely despise the plot twist of, oh, it was all a dream. So, but here's my.
Oh, it was the goat the whole time.
Yeah. So here's my prediction of what's going on in this film. These people are eating their corn. Not much is happening. Of course, the baby gets kidnapped. let's say the baby gets kidnapped by the witch, all that stuff at the beginning was real, and then literally everything else in the movie was just them hallucinating, and then Satan as the ghost just like, well, they just hallucinated all this stuff and ended up killing each other, so I'm just gonna make this woman sign a book and then she'll be a witch. I mean, why not? Everybody else is dead.
Maybe they just lost the baby because they were hallucinating and didn't know what was going on, and they just misplaced the baby.
Yeah, that could happen too. It's like literally they just eat
Yeah.
fungi on corn and then they hallucinate everything and then just Satan
went like
just shows
this
up
and
at the
then-
last minute. He's like, hey, you want to become a witch?
It's like the baby's still right there in front of her. She's like, "Where's the
Where's
baby?"
The baby's just like, I'm right here.
I'm right here. Where are you going?
And
Yeah.
then they all just kill themselves and the baby's just hanging out. They're like, what happened? It's like the baby's there, like Baby Yoda with the teeth. after the Thomason kills the mother and all that, the father gets horned by the goat. That happens in Baby. Just watching. Wow, that happened.
Okay, so I think that everything about this movie, from the acting, from the directing, the cinematography, the screenwriting, everything about this film was really, really well done. I feel like there were only a few things, like a few just like nitpicky things, like maybe that editing choice wasn't necessarily the best one, or that jump scare shouldn't have been there, it should have just been normal or whatever. Just like little tiny nitpicky things that really just were like, okay, move on. Now let's get back into the movie. There wasn't really anything that like really took me out of the movie. Just like nitpicky things. Like I was literally just sitting there watching the movie, trying to like look for things to nitpick, because I was like, is this movie as good as I remember it? And it pretty much was. So I rate it a 9 out of 10.
This movie, I would personally consider to be a modern horror masterpiece. It's fantastic, and after this entire discussion and learning, because I didn't know a lot about the witch trials and stuff, I have such a high appreciation to this movie now that I literally want to go watch it again, and I've only seen it twice. That really says something, but I agree with the jump scare thing. I'd say that was definitely the most negative thing you can say about this movie, but it doesn't take you out of it, and it honestly just my personal preference. It didn't really bother me that much. That it was kind of like even a nitpick, and from my point of view, because it's just a couple seconds and that was it. But I'm gonna have to go ahead and rate this a 9.5 out of 10. I want to go straight 10, but I'll say 9.5. That's the best I can do.
How about a 9? How about a 10? No, 9.5.
Nah, that's a
9.5.
9.5.
How about a 10?
That's a
Mm.
nine.
How
That's a
about
9.32. That's a 9.32.
Let's do 9.9. 9.9 out of 10. No, just 9 out of 10.
Well, I absolutely love this movie. Everything about it is just so perfect to me. From the directing, to the writing, to the cinematography, to the acting, to just every little bit of it. It works for me on every level. The jump scare is the one flaw that I have with it. But other than that, it's pretty near perfect for me. and because of like it's bringing me back to watch it every year. Like I said, it's in my rotation now. I watch it every year. So because of that, I have to recommend it to people because I love it. It's definitely not for everybody, but I have to recommend it, and I give it a 10 out of 10.
Yay!
Well, that's all we've got for this one. Thanks everyone for joining in on this discussion. Be sure to subscribe to Philman Thespian and The Metal Gladiator. Links will be in the description and on the end screen. Go show them some love, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Just be quiet.
It was throwing me off.
Shut up.